Hi, in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to create an array of labels in Objective-C. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into Xcode and we're going to start up a new project. And so if you're following along at home, just click on Single View Application, and we're going to call this label array build. And the other things for what we're doing really don't matter. You can put a class prefix or anything like that. For the sake of this is more of just showing you how to get labels into an array. So just click Next, hit Create, and here's our app. So the first thing you want to do is go into Main Storyboard. And now we can get rid of this side portion. And so what you're going to want to do is, and we'll get rid of here so you can see as much as possible. We're going to come and first we're going to grab 3 labels. So we're going to, or 3 or 4 labels. Copy and paste, and another one, and another one. And I'm just going to change these so you can see that they are once you can see them all the way, but I'm going to change them so you can actually see that they are different labels, because we're going to be iterating through the array using fast enumeration, which is really just Apple's fancy word for essentially creating a for each loop that goes through each element in the array. And to show how it all works and how it can respond to actions, I'm also going to create a switch. And in this switch, I'm going to, let's see, we want the switch over here to actually start off in the off, or start in the off position. And then for our labels, we want these to all be hidden. So you select each of them, come over to the right hand side, and you can see right here in the drawing section of the view, you click on hidden and it grays them out. But if you were to actually look at this, like I'll show it to you right now. You'd see you don't actually see anything. And if you're to click this, nothing happens yet. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to wire up. So you haven't actually created an array yet. So what we're going to do is come over here to the assistant editor. And you don't want to do this in your implementation file, so go up top and go into the header, and we're going to create a couple properties in the interface. So start off, we're going to create our array. So we're going to do property, because it's an array, the first argument we're going to give to the property is retain, and then we want it to be non-atomic. And don't worry if you don't know what these are. We'll be going through a lot in these tutorials, and we'll be talking about that. Because this is an array also, we want to do IB outlet collection. And in that collection, we want to put UI labels. And then the next thing is to give it an array, or we're going to say it's an array. The type's going to be an array. And then we're going to point to, we're going to call our array of labels. That's pretty basic. So just so you can kind of review that, we created a property, and it's an array type, and the name of the array is array of labels. The arguments we're sending are retain and non-atomic, and then it's an IB outlet collection. Each of these items are IB outlets, so this is a collection of them. And so we're saying we have a collection of IB outlets that are UI labels. So now that we've done that, now we can actually place all of the labels we want in there. So to do that, you click on the first label and right click on it, and you'll see this pop up where you have your labels. You could do a lot of different things, gesture recognizers, things like that. But what we're interested in is here at the bottom where it says new referencing outlet collection. That's what we want. So if you hover over here, you see it goes into a little plus sign. You want to hold down the control key, click on it, and then drag down to where it says My View Controller. And as soon as you do that, it pops up and says Array of Labels. And you just click on that. It'll flash, and that's been added. And so now you just go and you do that same thing to each of them. So Array of Labels on that one. Right click, control, drag it down, click on Array of Labels, and last one. Okay, now you also can notice when I did that, right here you can see that before this was blank and now it's connected. Array of Labels is now connected. So that's all hooked up, which means that each one of these items is in the array and now we can iterate through it. The other thing we have to do is we have to give we have to give this switch a value because we have to know if it's on or if it's off because that's how we're going to respond. So you want to click it and then click on control and then drag that. We're still in our H file. Drag it and just give it a name. You can call it anything, but I'm just going to call it switch value. And you do UI switch. I'm actually going to do the storage as strong and hit connect. It'll work for our sake for strong or weak, but in a lot of cases you're usually going to want to use strong in that, and we'll talk about that in a different tutorial. So that's everything that we need here in our header file. Now if you go up top and switch to the implementation file, you'll see that we have everything that we need, and we don't have to synthesize or do any of those things we have to do with other apps just because of what we're trying to do. We're not trying to set values or anything like that. So here, now we need to create a action. So just click on this button, hit control, and then drag it right in here, and you can see where Xcode's telling us to insert action. So just let go, and we need to call this method. We need to give this method a name. So I'm going to call it label changer. And we're going to keep all these other actions, hit connect, and so it's created this for us. So it creates it just as a stub to start out, and so now we need to give it a value. So we're going to, fast enumeration is essentially just a for loop that iterates through every item in an array. So you type for, and you can do a regular for statement, but we want this next one, this for in statement. And the very first thing you have to give is what the type is, and so we're wanting to change the UI label, and we give it a name, so we want to change it and we want to call it label. So every time it iterates through the array, it's going to use this local variable. It's local only to this for statement called label, and it just represents every item in the array. So UI label points to or it's UI labels the type, and our iterator points to something called label. In, and we just do self array of labels, and we do self because we're only wanting to refer to this instance. And now we tell it what we want it to do. And you could create a larger if statement if you wanted, if it was easier to see, but we're just going to be able to do this on one line because it's more efficient. And so we call label, which is our local variable that we're using to iterate, and we want to make this so we set it as hidden. So we're going to set these labels as either hidden or not hidden, and go do the exclamation mark, which means not, or the opposite of, and do self switch value, which is what we name the value of that switch, whether it's on or off. And then the built-in function for checking is just isOn. It's very easy. And that should be everything that we need to make this work. So let's see if we get any compile errors. Looks like it built correctly. So open up the iOS simulator. It pops open. Nothing's showing as it should. And now if you click on, there they are. So what's happening here, and you click off and on, it just keeps going on and off. So what essentially is happening, just to kind of recap, is we created each of these labels. We put them in an array so that we could talk to them all at one time, or we could iterate through them without having to communicate to them one at a time. The switch is just a way that we could create an action so we could see how our iterator is working. And then we created this method called label changer, and it takes in the label array and iterates through it. And then each time through the array for each one of these items, it looks like it all happened simultaneously, but it actually did it one at a time. It set it to hidden if the switch value was off, and it's kind of backwards because we did exclamation point, which just means not, or means the opposite of. And so it iterates through it and then turns it on or off, or sets it to hidden or visible, depending on what value is inside the switch value variable. So you now know how to put labels into an array, and then how to iterate through them to change either their values or different attributes about them. So good job, and let me know if you have any questions at all.